Good evening, I'm Barbara O'Brien, the Acting Executive Principal of Greater Shepparton Secondary College. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners, the Bangarang and Yorta Yorta people of the lands on which we meet this evening, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our VCE VCAL students and their families. This evening's information session is to help parents and students gain a better understanding of the requirements of VCE and provide you with some tips about being organised and staying healthy and well throughout the year. I encourage you to continually seek help from your teachers, maintain a study plan that works well for you and exercise regularly. I would like to quote Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg's 8 ways to manage your Year 12 stress. Number 1, sleep is your best friend. Number 2, study in 20-minute intervals. Number 3, say it and think it out loud. Number 4, breaks are good, constant distractions are bad. Number 5, feed your brain. Number 6, water your brain. Number 7, exercise is essential. And number 8, stress is okay. And I'd like to remind you all that your ATAR score does not define you, that there are many pathways that you'll be able to choose from. Best wishes for the Year 12 ahead. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to introduce our senior leadership team. We have Barbara O'Brien, our Acting Executive Principal. We have myself, and I'm the Associate Principal of Teaching and Learning. We have Mr. Ian Goldrick, Assistant Principal of Teaching and Learning, located at the Maguire campus. We have Mrs. Kirsten Tozer, Assistant Principal of Teaching and Learning, who is located at the Wanganui campus. We have Mrs. Ruth O'Bree, the VCAL leader, and she's located at the Wanganui campus. We have Miss Felicity Cummins, VCE leader at the Wanganui campus. We have Catherine Keane, VCE leader at Maguire campus, and we have Graham Crosby, College Careers leader, but he's located at the Wanganui campus.
Good evening, staff and students. As Mrs. Nicolaides just said, I'm the VCE Coordinator of Wanganui campus and across the colleges, and we just wanted to take this opportunity to go through what Year 12 has to offer you. So we're going to run through the aspects of VCE that you just need some clarification on. We're going to talk about special provisions and how you can go about ensuring that you're getting the most support you can during your VCE. We're going to look at some careers and pathways options for you and who to go to if you have any questions, and who you go to if you just need general support during your school year. So to start off with, the VCE minimum requirements are that you must successfully complete 16 units of study, including 3 units of English, 2 of which must be Unit 3 and 4, and at least 3 additional 3-4 sequences. So that means that during Year 11 and 12, you have to complete 16 units of study, you have to successfully pass 3 units of English, and 2 of those units must be in your Year 12. All right? Additionally, you have to complete 3 additional 3-4 sequences, so that's 3 subjects in Year 12 in Semester 1 and Semester 2, so they have to follow through. If you completed a Unit 3 or 4 subject last year, so you fast-tracked it, then you still need to successfully complete your English Unit 3-4 sequence and at least 2 other 3-4 sequences. So that means Unit 3 in Biology and Unit 4 in Biology, or Unit 3 in History and Unit 4 in History. Okay. We also wanted to discuss with you special provisions in Year 12. So if you believe your performance in a SAC or SAT has been or will be impacted by factors outside of your control, then you may be eligible for special exam arrangements to support you through that. So this could include things like having a mental health condition, having a health impairment or physical disability, a specific learning disorder, a language disorder, motor coordination disorder, deaf and hearing impairment, or a vision impairment. So these are some categories where if you come and contact us, we might be able to talk to VCAA and allow for you to get special considerations for you to sit your exams. So that might be able to support you more so that you can show your performance. We also have a program called the C's reports, where if later on in the year you believe that your performance was impacted and you're worried about getting into uni, we can apply for you to receive extra points for your ATAR based on those things that have impacted you. So these things could include ongoing mental health issues, the immediate death of a family member, or something else traumatic that was out of your control and could have impacted your ability to perform well in your exams. So if you think that you would be able to apply for some of these, or you're interested in having a conversation with us about looking into those applications, you can contact your neighbourhood leader, your wellbeing contact in your neighbourhood, or myself or Miss Keane on the Maguire campus, or myself on the Wanganui campus. In Year 12, you also have to sit the General Achievement Test, which is commonly known as the GAT. So on Wednesday the 9th of June, all students who are enrolled in one or more VCE or scored VCE VET Unit 3 and 4 sequences must sit the GAT. So that includes if you are fast tracking, if you're a current Year 11 student and you're fast tracking a subject, you are also expected to sit the GAT so that that information can be used when you sit your exams later on in the year. The General Achievement Test is a test of general knowledge and skills in the broad areas of written communication, mathematics, science and technology, the humanities, arts and social sciences. Now, the results of the GAT help to calculate your derived examination scores if you're unable to sit your final exams due to illness, accident or trauma. So the GAT is not a measure of how you're going to perform at the end of the exams, but it's an indication should you be unable to sit your exams at the end of the year. It will help to inform us where you would have come if you've been able to study to the best of your ability and hadn't been impacted by those extreme unforeseen circumstances. We also just wanted to talk through some commonly asked questions or misconceptions so that everyone's clear on what the expectations are of being in Year 12 at Greater Shepparton Secondary College. So what do you do if you miss a day of school? You need to have your parent or guardian let the school know that you won't be at school that day, so they can call the office or do it via Compass. On your first day back at school, you need to take your medical certificate to the main office so they know that you were approved because it was an approved absence because you were unable to come to school because of an illness. What you do if you miss a SAC because you are away, you do the same thing as if you're away at school, but then you have to go to your classroom teacher to organise a SAC reschedule on either a Tuesday or a Thursday afternoon after school. So if you have a medical certificate because you're away, you take that straight to the admin office when you get back to school, and then you go and talk to your classroom teacher about when suits to reschedule your SAC. This means that you're able to sit your SAC for an S or an N and your band graded, okay? So you will get your numerical band. If you are unable to produce a medical certificate or other professional documentation, you might have to resit the SAC for only an S or an N result, which means that your results down the track can be impacted by that. All right? So it's really important that if you're missing a day of school, that there's a really good reason that you're missing it, and that you can support that by either having medical documentation or other documentation that tells us it was out of your control that you weren't able to be at school that day. Another really important thing that I just wanted to touch on was how much homework you should be doing. All right. The thing is that when you're in class, your teachers are exposing you to content and some skills. All right. But because of the time limits of class, that's not enough time for you to understand, interpret, and then master all that content and all those skills. So we would be recommending 3 hours of homework per subject a week, okay? So this means that if you're doing 5 subjects, you would do 15 hours work outside of class. So that's 3 hours from Monday to Friday. This doesn't mean that you have to do those 3 hours completely outside school. You can always use the Senior Learning Centre, particularly during your private study times, during your lunch times, that's an hour. You can use some of that time to get in that extra study. And also think about how you can utilize technology to help you study. Think about if you can use podcasts and audiobooks to really cement your understanding of your content, because all of that exposure is really important in helping you succeed at VCE.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Graham Crosby. I'm the College Careers Leader, and I'll introduce you to the College Careers team a little later in the presentation. I think the interesting thing at this stage is that all of the decisions that students have made up until this point in time have been about staying within the system and rolling from one year level to the next, whereas the real decision making now is around where do they want to head beyond school. So they've got some decisions to make. What will you do? What will it take to get there? What kind of support do you need? Who can help you with that support? So what will 2022 bring you? The options really are further study, and that could be university or TAFE or one of the private training institutions. It could be employment in lots of different formats. It could be a gap year, so doing something different just for 12 months, but with a plan for continuing a little bit later on. And I think it's important to understand that it's okay not to know, but it's not okay to do nothing about it. And tonight is about understanding the steps that can be taken to put that plan in place. So if we look at further study as an option, further study specifically to university, plus a few TAFE and private institutions, most of that is organised through an organisation called VTAC, Tertiary Admission Centre for Victoria. And VTAC act as the intermediary. They are the organisation who works with those institutions to decide what courses are going to be offered. And then they present that in a format for students to be able to access and for students to actually be able to apply for. And that is a system that we will step all of the students through in term 3. Predominantly, this relates to VCE students because for the vast majority of things, not all, but for the vast majority of things on VTAC, they're courses which have a requirement for an ATAR or for completing particular subjects in VCE and achieving certain subject scores. The VTAC process effectively runs over the course of term 3, and in early term 4 they will have submitted effectively what is a draft course selection. There's up to 8 preferences that they can include for that. In early term 4, the first week of term 4 is usually where another component goes towards their application, and that is the Special Entry Access Scheme or Special Education Access Scheme. It's like a special consideration through VTAC. So it is a tool that allows students to be able to not only get an ATAR, but to be able to say, yes, I got this particular ATAR or I got this set of results, but there were extenuating circumstances that have affected my outcome. And we'll step students through that with the neighbourhood leaders and with the house leaders. And the second part of that week, the VTAC closes for VTAC scholarships. That all happens in the first week of October usually. The VTAC scholarships application process, again, is something that we will step students through, mainly through learning mentor sessions or in year level meetings. And there'll be lots of publicity around the steps and what's happening in each particular week with that. The VTAC scholarships work by providing all of the universities with information which will help them in their decision making about allocating scholarships. VCE results and the subject scores will come out in about mid-December. I haven't got the dates confirmed yet with me, but it's important to understand that at any point in time, students can change their course preferences. The other further study option that doesn't involve VTAC is actually involves applying directly to organisations, and that covers TAFE and many private training organisations. Effectively, a student could have a set of applications in through VTAC, and then separate to that have TAFE applications and private training organisation applications to a whole range of different places. Last year, GoTAFE, who are our TAFE organisation locally, actually didn't have any courses that were on VTAC. So for students applying for those GoTAFE courses, they had to do a direct application. And those applications are usually done online, or they involve a written application. For the GoTAFE courses, application is made directly to GoTAFE, and it's initiated by making an appointment through the Skills and Jobs Centre or through an online application. TAFE courses won't necessarily require an ATAR, a specific ATAR, but there will be some selection elements, and often they involve a test that enables the organisation to be able to assess the level of literacy or numeracy so that they can determine whether the student is ready to have success at the diploma level or whether they might need to start at a Certificate 3 or Certificate 4 level. As you'll notice, and you will have seen publicity around that, in the TAFE sector there are many courses which are in fact free, and they refer to them as free TAFE. These are usually in areas of skill shortage, so they can change from year to year a little bit, but that's certainly something to keep an eye out for. The other main area where students will transition away from school, obviously outside of training, is employment. And there's lots of different kinds of employment that our students will go to. Some will be apprenticeships, some will be traineeships, some will be a 12-month employment plan, a gap year of some kind, and that might actually be a traineeship. The important thing with employment is that those seeking employment shouldn't wait until the end of the school year to do something about it. And there's lots of steps that you can take now with the career team assistance to be able to be ready for that. Obviously, building your resume, getting some experience, having a support network around you, knowing who those people are that will be great advocates or who might be able to help you. If you're seeking an apprenticeship or a traineeship, engaging with one of the group training companies. Now, you might not be familiar with group training companies, but they are organisations who in fact employ trainees or apprentices, and then they have host employers who the student actually works for. So a student might be working for Watters Electrical, and Watters Electrical might engage the apprenticeship factory to become the group training company for them. And the student would actually be employed by the apprenticeship factory, but Watters would hire the student from the apprenticeship factory. There's a number of reasons why organisations do that. One of which is that the employing people and human resource management, making sure that they're paid the right amount and superannuation is right, all of those steps, they are usually difficult for people who are experts in their particular trade. So often organisations will use a group training company to be able to help with that. The selection process for many of the gap year traineeships, many of them could be through businesses, or they might be through some of the primary schools in the education sector positions. Many of those positions will be advertised in mid to late term 3. Okay, so they're the main options that students would be looking for, but what kind of support is available for students to be able to help with their decision making? It's really difficult for a 17 or an 18-year-old to be able to say, I know what I want to do when I'm 30 or 40, because for many of us, we don't actually know what we want to be able to do in the longer term anyway. So we are constantly being exposed to new information, new experiences that influences our understanding of what the opportunities might be. So any opportunity a student has to be able to be exposed to training or employment or industry information, they should make the most of it. Each week, the careers team puts together a newsletter. In one fortnight, it will be inserted into the Greater Shepparton Secondary College newsletter that's emailed home. And in the opposite fortnight, it will then be sent as a senior careers news that is distributed to parents and students from years 10 to 12 via Compass. Open days are another great way of getting information about courses. You can get the information about open days. In August is really open day season, and it's largely on Saturday and Sundays. So at this stage, you could almost certainly plan to keep a number of those days free in August. The Greater Shepparton Secondary College Careers website is a fantastic resource, and I would encourage you as a parent and your students to connect with that. Each of the students has their own portal page where they can create a resume, they can draft up letters of application, they can do an investigation about their own career interests and what opportunities might come from that. We also have on both campuses, senior campuses, careers rooms, and there are resources in there where students could get course guides or industry information. We put together a careers Facebook page, which is just accessible to the general public, and on that we advertise positions or training that might be coming up. And we also have, separate to that, Facebook and Teams groups specifically for Year 12s on either campus, and they're closed to the public. Plus, of course, there's the campus careers staff, and some of those staff will be familiar to you and to their students, but I'll just introduce them now. So my name's Graham Crosby, obviously, and I'm based at the Wanganui campus, also based at the Wanganui campus, and a career practitioner by profession is Ruth O'Brien, who happens to lead the VCAL and VET program across the whole college also. Susan Barr is our career practitioner at Maguire. Mary Ann Linehan is a very experienced career practitioner who you'll be familiar with, and her role is in school partnerships, but she loves working directly with students also, and she works across all of our campuses and is available to everybody. Tash Boyko is our career practitioner at the Maribna campus, and Tash works across the other campus where we need some extra support. And finally, Simone Masters joined us early last year in a special program, the Inclusive Industry Engagement program, and she's a coordinator of that program. And some of you, some of the students and parents will have had a great deal of dealings with Simone already. So I'd encourage you to reach out to everybody via Teams or Compass or making calls. We'd love to be able to help.
Good evening. My name is Kirsten Tozer and I'm one of the assistant principals at the Wanganui campus. I wanted to close this evening's presentation with a note about the supports that we have available across the college. Often the first port of call for a student, their family or their carer might be the learning mentor or the house leader. We also have wellbeing staff dedicated to each neighbourhood area across the campuses. What we want to stress is that your concern is very much our concern and that we are here to help. In addition to the other staff that I've outlined, we have our neighbourhood leaders who work very closely with the senior students across the Maguire and the Wanganui campuses. So in Neighbourhood 1, we have Robin Huff at the Wanganui campus and Amy Funston at the Maguire campus. In Neighbourhood 2, we have Zarina Fleming at the Wanganui campus and Susan Kerwin at the Maguire campus. And in Neighbourhood 3, we have Lynn Bentley at the Wanganui campus and Tom Robinson at the Maguire campus. We would like to thank you for taking the time to view this presentation this evening. If you have any questions about the senior program that have not been answered in the presentation, We would like to invite you to click on the link below and pop your feedback in there so that we have the chance to respond. Thank you.